Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. The Daily Compliance News for February 8, 2023, the Dry at Madison Square Garden edition. As our lead story comes to us from Reuters, as the chairman of the New York liquor licensing is looking into the liquor license of Madison Square Garden. The reason they're doing this is because Madison Square Garden has banned plaintiffs' lawyers who sue the company from attending events at MSG. This policy violates the New York State Liquor Authority ban on refusal to sell liquor at events which are licensed to sell booze. And the state of New York views this as a loss of revenue. And so Madison Square Garden wants to investigate this, and MSG does not want the state of New York liquor license to investigate this. Imagine that. So I don't drink, so it won't impact me. I don't know if that's this podcast will get me whacked from being able to go to Madison Square Garden. Next up, from the Financial Times. Corporations are concerned about the EU Data Act, which is final and arguably the most important element of an ambitious program of legislation which paves the way for Europe's digital transformation. However, businesses are trying to claim that business data is personal and should be protected under this. Of course, that's poppycock. Personal data belongs to people. But corporations are trying to worm their way in to get protection for this category of data. That story came to us from the Financial Times. Next up from Bloomberg. Remember Keppel Offshore from several years back and their FCPA case, which caused a fine or penalty of $422 million. Well, the city of Singapore is now reviewing a decision not to prosecute key figures over this case if there's new evidence which warrants them doing so, meaning the city of Singapore may finally criminally prosecute Keppel Offshore officers. They paid over $400 million in fines and penalties. If there was that much of a fire, you better believe, or that much smoke, there was a fire. And our final story today comes to us from the Wall Street Journal, where crypto brands are trying to rebrand themselves in the wake of FTX and the market tumble. So it's not bad enough that they took everybody's money. Now they want to rebrand as the good guys. Good luck, guys. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.